the last several weeks, we have been through quite a series of spiritual discussions. And I thought, let me give it a bit of a break from such deep spiritual and philosophical topics and focus this week to cover some more common traditional Hindu practices. And today's topic is the significance of Haldi and Kumkum, or the yellow and the red powder, that has become an absolute default in pretty much any Hindu home, be it a festival or even during a celebration. I want to focus on the yellow and the red powder, its presumed origin, its significance and usage. Towards the end of this video, I will also briefly discuss another colored powder that is of significance, and that is the grey ash. In a later video, I also plan to cover the tradition and the background of some other common substances used in Hindu rituals. Okay, now let us get to Haldi and Kumkum, or the yellow and red powder that you traditionally see in a Hindu household. Now, to understand the origins of the Haldi and Kumkum, we need to look back in time when ritual and worship practices actually commenced. I mean, going back thousands of years ago. By the way, I did a video on how ritual and worship activities commenced and how they evolved over time. It's called the real meaning of Sanatana Dharma. As always, I'm giving you a link to those videos in the description below. Now, our ancestors were very good on maximizing the nature for a better life. Meaning, plants, shrubs, and trees were the go-to for worship and even nutrition, health, and wellness. They had this innate ability and knack to identify the benefits and the impact of plants, flower, fruits, and lot more. The key here is that they're dependent on nature instead of manufactured goods. When the ritual practices commenced, starting with gratitude towards this nature in the universe, which of course provides a platform and a foundation for all of us, they resorted to using the produce grown in this nature for symbolic representation. And as it relates to the origin of Haldi and Kumkum, they came to two conclusions. Number one, to represent the magnanimity of this nature, they looked at the sun, bright, shining yellow ball of fire. Then they looked towards a produce of the nature and one that is beneficial and key to wellness and health. And they found turmeric. They connected the two in harmony. In many ways, you could say, turmeric became the first representation of a deity to be prayed. When organically grown, you probably know turmeric has a nice rich yellow color to it, like the glowing sun. In Sanskrit, turmeric is also called Haridra. Now, the personal form of divinity for a Hindu traditionalist is also called Hari. It is one among the several meanings that represent divinity and an alternative name for a divine like Krishna or Vishnu. Hence, Haridra or turmeric and Hari, the supreme divinity, became synonymous to form a symbolic representation. Even today, in many Hindu traditions and rituals, a few drops of water are mixed with powdered turmeric and shaped into a cone or a spherical form to create an ad hoc form of a deity during a ritual. Even when there is an idol or a larger image of a deity, this conical form is first worshipped before worshipping the larger idol. Turmeric or Haridra or Haldi, when mixed with water and allowed to soak, has the ability to produce a nice golden yellow colored water. It becomes a dye, and during a ritual, it's common for a white cloth to be dipped in this golden yellow color and dried and then worn as clothing during the worship. Haldi continued to take on a significant role and representation of divinity and auspiciousness over the thousands and thousands of years. And of course, linked to all of this, and another fundamental reason was using turmeric for its health benefits. There are so many synonyms to the meaning of turmeric in Sanskrit, and each represents a healing property. The Science of Life, or Ayurveda, recognize turmeric as a fundamental ingredient for health and wellness. Hence, it has become a staple spice in any Indian household. And in recent years, you might have seen turmeric becoming a popular health supplement in the form of pills. All of this strengthened haldi or turmeric as a must-have ingredient during worship. So that's how the first conclusion of our ancestors was on using turmeric. Now on to the second conclusion that they reached, and that is about kumkum, or the red powder used in rituals. Interestingly, if we go to the root of the word kumkum, it means saffron. The red saffron dipped in water gives a nice, rich, yellowish red color like the rising and the setting sun. Our ancestors knew this, and along with it, they knew the health and the wellness properties of saffron and used it as an offering, again symbolically representing divinity and the shining form of divinity, the sun. Now, saffron being a selective flower grown only in a few places was not readily accessible, however. Having said, over the years, they just could not get away with not having saffron or kumkum. After all, haldi or turmeric and kumkum or saffron as a pair or the red and yellow combination had become a default ingredient during worship. So how could they just avoid saffron? Hindu ancestors were able to overcome this restriction of not having saffron by using the readily available turmeric and mix it with natural lime to give it a nice reddish powder, similar to crushed saffron. Thus, the combination of having haldi and kumkum got accomplished this way. And the tradition of using turmeric as a base for both the substances became a common practice. It, of course, was a much cheaper alternative to using saffron. Now, some traditionalists have proposed that saffron in the form of a red flower was the only substance during offering and not turmeric. They claim that turmeric came into prominence only because of the limited availability of saffron. I think it's an inconsequential debate. Irrespective, the fact remains that turmeric or haridra or haldi and kumkum in its contemporary form as a byproduct of turmeric has become synonymous with auspiciousness and a regular ingredient during worship. As I said earlier, there is another form of powder which is actually grey ash that is used by many Hindus. But unlike haldi and kumkum used as a worship offering, the grey ash is usually limited to sporting a dot or a religious mark on the forehead. Once again, our ancestors relied on this grey ash to be produced by nature. It is either produced through burning of dry wood or through the burning of dry cow dung cakes, considering the belief that the produce from a cow is medicinal in nature. Ash is applied as a reality of the material body that at the end of the day, the body of the material gets reduced to ashes and becomes one with earth. The grey ash on the forehead is a reminder of that reality. There you have it. Now the next time you are participating or observing a Hindu ritual practice, there should be no mystery behind the usage of haldi and kumkum. As I've always said, traditions that are harmless help reinforce the culture identity and create a nice social bond. Inquiring and going deeper into its origin and usage helps us stay away from becoming blind believers or developing a fearful attitude. Instead, it helps us see practices for what they actually are, which is strictly traditional practices, personal preferences of an ethnic group or a geographical region. They guide that tradition, and that's what they are for. But it's not a verdict of spirituality or a divinity, or it's not a verdict of God. But it is a tradition created for a reason, and if it is harmless, why not adopt it? That is how this whole practice of using Haldi and Kumkum has evolved over the years and still continues to be a strong representation of that divinity, or a symbolic representation of that. And given the fact that it has evolved from a very, very organically and healthy ingredient grown in nature, turmeric, the importance of it has gone up even further. We will continue to cover in one of the next videos on some of the other common ingredients used in a Hindu practice or in a Hindu ritual practice. Till then, stay safe, stay blessed, and I'll talk to you soon.